Well, one day, when Jesus was on earth, which was a long way back before he went to heaven, his friends came to him, his friends who stayed with him and learnt from him, and they had a question, and they wanted to know the answer to this question. Now, if you're new to my writing, look at the bits I don't draw, the bits that are left, and you'll see some letters appearing. Their question was, who is best? For a question mark there, for a question. Who is best in God's kingdom? Who is best in the kingdom of God? Now, Jesus knew what they were thinking because they had been arguing with one another about who would be the greatest, who would be the best in God's kingdom, in Jesus' kingdom when he came to be king. Because you know what they had in mind was this. They wanted to be the best, or rather the greatest. They had the idea that somehow heaven was like a big set of steps. There was a top step, 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and so on. And they were really thinking, which place will I get? Will I be at the top or not? And so they were arguing with one another and wanted to know. So they came to Jesus and said, Jesus, who's going to be the greatest? Here they are. Here's some of them, some of his friends who were helping him. Yes, they give him some feet. They've got to have feet to stand on, haven't they? I know at school, if I forget feet and things like that, someone always tells me, oops, his feet are on the wrong way. And so they were arguing with one another and saying, no, I should be the first because I'm so good at this, that, or something else. When Jesus heard the question, he called them to himself and he said to them, well, first, before he said anything, he called someone else. He asked, a bit more here. He asked a little child, a really little one, to come and stand with him. So here's someone here. The Bible doesn't tell us whether it was a boy or whether it was a girl, so it could be either. And the little child came, and he or she, whoever it was feeling rather, I think I'd feel a bit this way, rather shy in front of all these people. Only a little person. Jesus said to his friends, you've really got it wrong. Whoever's going to be greatest, best in God's kingdom won't be the one that's most important, that thinks they're most important. Of course, at the top, and they would all have said that, of course, number one would be Jesus himself. He's the king. He will be the king of God's kingdom. Jesus is number one. But I want to be number 2. No, I want to be number 2. You can be 3. No, I don't want to be 1. I want to be 2, and so on it went. So Jesus had something to tell them. And he said, you see this little child holding my hand? If you want to be the best and the greatest in God's kingdom in heaven, you have to become like a little child. It doesn't mean that we big grown-up people have got to shrink down. It means they've got not to think too much about themselves, not think, I am the greatest, which people often seem to think, but rather to think, I am the... Who can read that word for me? No, it's not the greatest. It's a good guess. Do you know what that word is? Small, that's right. Jesus said, if you want to be the great one, If you want to be great in God's kingdom, you've got to become small. Small in thinking about yourself. Because that's just what Jesus is like. When he was on earth, he went about not pleasing himself, but helping everybody that had a problem and telling them the good news that God has sent him, that God will have a kingdom where people who trust in him will be part in that good place. And Jesus went about healing people, teaching the people, and eventually feeding the people. Eventually, he gave his life so that we could go to heaven. So, who is the best? Is it the person that thinks, I am the greatest, I'm the best speaker, I'm the best runner? No. It's the little ones, like the little child who know they're only little people. And they set about like Jesus. They set out like Jesus to be kind and to be helpful. That's what Jesus said. If you want to be the best, the greatest in the kingdom of God, you want to be helping everybody else, not thinking about yourself, because that is how Jesus is himself. He gave everything up to help us, and that's a wonderful thing. Now, I've got something here for you to take to remind you of the story. What it's got here is, let me get them out. I've got my coloured picture at the top. I've got the words from the Bible where Jesus tells us this. And there's a place if you'd like to colour things in. You don't have to colour in using my colours. Would you like one? I'll give it to Dad. You could colour in with whatever colours you like. And finally, if someone who hasn't had one of my drawings would like the drawing, come and see me afterwards and I'll give it to you. I've also got the drawing from last time about Jesus the Good Shepherd. I hope you'll remember it's not big that counts with God, it's small. Not thinking too much of yourself, thinking of Jesus and helping others. Thank you, boys and girls.
Those of you who have eagle eyes notice that I forgot to fill in one word. I do that at times. Maybe it's old age. However, the word that's missing is big, as you can see on this slide here. Big, because that's what the friends of Jesus, his disciples, thought they should be. But Jesus said no, not big, but small. Small is best.